It seems President Obama's Republican charm offensive isn't going all that well, as Republicans are going after him on welfare again. House Republicans took up a bill which resurrects the 2012 campaign charge that President Obama coddles poor people by giving them free welfare. The bill would forbid the Obama administration to grant states waivers from work requirements in welfare programs. Joining us to discuss this are HuffPost Politics reporters Jason Linkins and Arthur Delaney. Arthur, I'll start with you. You wrote this story. Can you please explain to us what Republicans are trying to do here?
Sure. So it all starts with the Obama administration announcing last July that it would let states apply for waivers from certain requirements in welfare, which is formerly known as Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. It's a program that helps about 1 million poor parents and their children with a few $100 a month. So this was in response to Republican governors who had complained that there's some administrative difficulty with this program and we'd like to try some new things to help people get back to work and become self-sufficient. And the Conservative Heritage Foundation, which has long had experts on this topic, was outraged and said, well, this is gutting welfare reform. You remember welfare reform in the 1990s instituted work requirements, and there was all this racially charged rhetoric over, welfare queens and their Cadillacs. And then the Romney campaign picked up on the Heritage Foundation's blog post, and it became this whole hypercharged campaign issue last year. So the surprising, and Congress went along with it too. Republicans in Congress had a bill that would stop the administration from doing this. But then after the election, I think a lot of people thought it would go away. Surprisingly, this month it came back.
Right. And
Congress passed, the House of Representatives yesterday passed the bill that said, Obama, no, you cannot do this. So that's where we stand now.
It really feels like deja vu. I mean, to your point, I know that they're also insisting that the administration overstepped its own authority. That's obviously part of it. Jason,
right.
It is deja vu. Just in time for CPAC, what do you make of this?
Well, it's funny how we have another one of these sort of like election year controversies that's been hung over into the to the legislative process. We also have, I think, a bill going forward that would stop the Obama phones from happening, which of course aren't really Obama phones. It's a program to give cell phones to needy families. It was, I believe, passed under the Bush administration, and it just became popularly known during the election as the Obama phone. And It sort of got folded into the whole makers-takers argument. We also had Congress this year once again vote to defund Acorn, which is a group that no longer exists. Apparently, maybe it's still rattling around in poltergeist form. They want to exercise it, but it's just, it's again like not being able to let go of these past controversies. And the thing that Arthur puts right in the lead in the story is Paul Ryan saying we're not going to refight the past, but I guess they're not actually done with that fight.
Right, and this is, Arthur, a day after Paul Ryan said just that, which is probably appropriate that you would put that in the lead. But the truth is, this has had an effect on the Obama administration in terms of how they've been framing this, saying that unfortunately no states have formally applied for the waivers because they're probably deterred by these inaccurate claims that still somehow seem to be relevant. Where do we go from here? Now it's going to the Senate, right?
Well, yeah, it's not going anywhere. Well, when they did it last year, it wasn't something that had a chance of really becoming law. It's not likely it'll happen this year either, because the Senate has a bill to fund the government that reauthorizes welfare, doesn't add any restrictions on what the Obama administration can do. But practically speaking, because no governors want to apply for this now, even though it was some of their ideas that precipitated the whole thing. Practically speaking, there will be no effect from this. It's not going to change the program from the way it has been. And if no one wants to try out a new project with a waiver, then no one will.
One of the ironies to this also is that it's kind of become sort of a conservative tenet that these types of programs are best managed at state municipal level. The federal government shouldn't have a hand in all these arrangements. And so it's natural for governors to take a look at their TANF program and say, here we have success in placing people with mental disabilities. Here we have success in placing people who don't use English as their first language. We need some flexibility because we're having some success, but we're running up against this sort of evaluative guidelines that's baked in the federal statute. Now, the typical philosophical thing a conservative would say was that the federal government should get out of the way
Right.
and let municipalities and localities handle it as they know best. And in this case, there's probably a good argument for that because the people on the ground in these states, they know who's hiring, they know who's looking for a job, and they're probably better suited to actually making these matches. But so it's weird that they're decided this is the hill they're going to die on because it seems antithetical to their political philosophy.
And
That's a great point, and it gets right at why the Romney campaign's attacks were so widely panned as false.
Yeah.
Because the reason states were seeking these waivers, in no case was it that the governor wanted to just give out free welfare to poor people.
Right.
It was the administrative burden. I think Utah was a great example. They said, well, we're spending so much time looking over the shoulder of people, making sure they log every hour of what they do, splitting your time between work activities and vocational training or school work and things like that. And, it might have it matters to how we report the program's performance to the federal government, but in many cases it has no effect on whether this person ultimately lands in a job.
Right.
And, the work requirement, it's not a requirement that you put people into jobs. It's a requirement that a certain percentage of your caseloads are involved in things that, meet the technical definition of a work-related activity. So there's all this bureaucratic mumbo jumbo, I think, that states were looking to get a little leeway on, and now
Right.
they most likely never will.
And I like that phrase, mumbo jumbo. It actually echoes what we have Robert Weaver in our comments section saying, one of our viewers 2 minutes ago, saying the GOP passed a bill against something the Obama administration isn't actually doing at all. Let me restate, they are making a bill against something that isn't happening. That's one way to look at it. Egberto Willis from Kingwood, Texas, is now joining us in the Hangout, as well as Negin Farsad from New York, Peter Umbartakio, I hope I got that right, from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. What do you guys think about this? Why don't we start with you, Egberto?
It's interesting because, first of all, I like to mention, supposedly conservatives like state rights, right? Assuming that was the case, they should have loved that policy if it were really true. But that said, I think this is actually a political move. You see, the economy is actually getting better and things are looking positive. So they have to find a way to activate their base. They activate their base by finding something to oppose Obama on. And that is exactly what this does for them. So they can go into their district and say, you see, we stopped those welfare people from getting those welfare checks and all of that, immaterial to the fact that their governors are one of the major people who actually wanted that change.
Right. Negin, actually, what do you think of what Egberto said?
I honestly feel like this is a sign of yet another sign of the complete and total unraveling of the GOP. They've got a whole pot of uncooked noodles, and they just keep throwing things at the wall. They're either throwing at the wall Marco Drymouth Rubio to see if they can get Latino voters, or Bush comes out with a book that says he's against pathway to citizenship, or there's earlier you mentioned Acorn, a bill against Acorn that doesn't exist. I mean, these are all just terrible, uncooked, inconsistent, ideologically inconsistent ideas that I think are forgetting what the actual idea is in and of itself. In this case, welfare, work requirements, whatever the idea is just a sign that they're really having a hard time defining themselves. And I think things are going really badly for them right now.
I feel like we have someone beatboxing, Negin. That's your outro. Peter, your thoughts?
I agree with that, but only in part. I think it points to the radicalism of the congressional wing of the party. The Republican Party is much broader than that. Witnessed 30 Republican governors, some of whom would very much like to have these rules loosened. I think you have a very radical element in the House and in the Senate. The leadership of both of those houses has really been taken over by their freshmen or sophomores who are quite radical on these issues. And I agree with the earlier comment that even if the president was allowing a loosening of these rules, that's perfectly in line with an old-style conservatism, which suggests that people on the ground might, in fact, in some instances, know best how to apply a policy, and that a broad mandate from Washington is not likely to always work or to achieve the ends of the policy that they've promoted. So I think that I'm not quite willing to suggest that the entire Republican Party has policies that are just throwing things against the wall. But I do agree that the folks down in D.C. are quite radical on these issues and will do anything to try to obstruct the White House. Even as has been pointed out, the White House is not in fact granting these waivers, and no one's applied for them.
Right.
I think that's
On the issue of states' rights, it's a great point, but something that Republicans in Congress did anticipate, and listening to the floor debate yesterday, one person who talked about it was Tom Cole, Republican from Oklahoma, who said, yeah, well, we gave states more flexibility when we reformed welfare in '96. But the catch there was that they had to have these work requirements that were pretty strict. And I think that is actually a fair point, even though state flexibility and waiver granting preceded welfare reform and really was the source of a lot of the new policy. I think it's fair to say that in this case, they usually didn't want to grant flexibility within welfare to make it easier on poor people. The whole idea of welfare reform was to make life harder for poor people and to kick people off the rolls. And that's why it's such a success, because there are 10 million fewer Americans receiving benefits from this program.
just to underscore something Peter just said really quickly, the primacy of the congressional wing of the Republican Party is having an impact practically, because it's governors where the state house is where the GOP has more recently brought people to national level through ideas, statecraft. They're the laboratories where policies go into effect. And these are the people who are groomed for the presidential run because they have managerial acumen. And so these kind of things work against that overall drive, that talent drive.
Well, I want to agree with one last comment. Conspicuous saying 2 minutes ago, I feel I'm sharp, witty, well-read, and outspoken with a robust vocabulary. Then Jason Lincoln shows up and slams me with perspective. Thank you, Arthur and Jason, for slamming us with your perspective. And those of you watching, keep your perspectives coming in the comments section.